They say grief fades with time, but for me, it settled in like a second skin. It had been a year since Thomas died, but I still heard his footsteps at night. I still made 2 cups of coffee in the morning. Sometimes I forgot he was gone until the silence reminded me. The house was too quiet, too still, like time had paused. Thomas wasn't perfect, but he was mine. He had this way of making even mundane things feel special, folding laundry while dancing to old Motown songs, or cooking pancakes on Sundays just to see me smile. He kissed my forehead every night without fail. That's the version of him I buried. After the funeral, Daniel changed. At first, I thought it was just grief. He stopped talking much, stopped eating with me. He'd leave the house at odd hours, always saying he was out with friends or working late. I didn't press. I couldn't. He was grieving, just like me, or so I thought. When he brought Natalie home for dinner one evening, I didn't expect anything. She seemed sweet, polite. Her smile was warm, and she kept calling me Mrs. Carter, even after I told her to call me Elena. I was just glad Daniel was seeing someone. Maybe she'd bring him back to life a little. The first few visits were fine. She helped with dishes, complimented the house, asked questions about Thomas. But over time, something shifted. Natalie didn't just act curious. She acted familiar. Too familiar. She laughed at jokes Thomas used to make. She said things like, "He used to call you Sunflower, right?" And I blinked. How would she know that? I told myself it was coincidence. Maybe Daniel told her. Maybe I mentioned it once. But it started happening more often. She hummed this tune, an old jazz melody Thomas used to play on Sunday mornings, while reading the paper. She moved around the house like she belonged there, like she'd walked those halls before. Daniel didn't notice, or he didn't care. He was distant even with her, but not in a cruel way, just detached, like he was doing what was expected. Natalie filled the space he left behind, always showing up, helping with dinner, laughing at my stories. I should have felt grateful, but instead, I felt something cold press against my chest. Something wasn't right. And it wasn't just the grief. It was something else. Something I couldn't name. Yet. Natalie started coming over more. At first, it was twice a week. Then it became almost daily. She'd bring groceries, bake cookies, help me clean, even fold Daniel's laundry like it was her second nature. I told myself she was just kind, maybe raised right. But in my gut, something tugged at me. Something didn't add up. She knew things, small things. She commented once about the creaky floorboard outside the guest room. I hadn't mentioned it. Thomas and I used to joke that it was our alarm system. When she said it, I froze. She laughed, unaware, sipping tea like she lived here. One night over dinner, she casually mentioned Thomas's cologne, the brand, the exact scent. "It reminded me of something from my past," she said. I stared at her, my fork midair. She didn't flinch. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe Daniel told her. But Daniel barely talked these days. He sat through dinners scrolling his phone, barely glancing up. They weren't affectionate either. No hand-holding, no looks. They felt more like roommates than lovers. Then came the humming. I walked into the kitchen one afternoon, and she was cleaning, humming a song. Not just any song, Thomas's favorite jazz tune. A deep, rare cut only he played. I stood there, hidden, watching her move like she belonged in our life, in his memory. I called Marie that evening. My voice shook. I told her everything, how Natalie felt too familiar, how her presence stirred something I couldn't explain. Marie chuckled. "Elena," she said gently, "you're projecting. You miss Thomas. She's just a reminder." Maybe, but something in me said otherwise. Then it happened. I came home early from a walk. The house was quiet. I walked past my bedroom door and stopped. It was slightly open. Inside, Natalie stood by the dresser, holding one of Thomas's old button-down shirts. She wasn't folding it. She was holding it to her face. Eyes closed. I didn't say anything. I just stepped, back, heart pounding. Later that night, I asked her if she'd been in my room. She smiled and said she was helping with laundry, thought the shirt was Daniel's. It wasn't. Thomas's name was embroidered on the inside collar. No one knew that but me. I didn't argue. I didn't confront her. I just nodded and excused myself. The next morning, I tried to check Daniel's phone. It was locked. I asked him questions, subtle ones. He brushed me off, told me I was overthinking. But I wasn't. Something was wrong, and I was done pretending it wasn't real. It was nearly midnight when I heard them. I hadn't meant to eavesdrop. I was just walking past Daniel's room when I heard Natalie's voice, low, tense. She said, "You promised me this wouldn't get messy." Daniel responded, frustrated. I didn't think she'd notice anything. That stopped me cold. I didn't move. I just stood there, heart thudding, trying to piece together what I was hearing. Natalie said, "She keeps looking at me like she knows. I can't keep lying. In that house." Daniel didn't answer. The silence between them said enough. The next morning, Daniel was gone. Natalie was sitting in the kitchen like nothing happened. I asked where he went. She said he needed space. I nodded. Then quietly, I asked her how she knew about Thomas's cologne. She froze. Just for a second, but I caught it. Then she smiled, said Daniel mentioned it once. I said nothing more. Later that day, I found her alone on the porch. I sat beside her calmly and asked, "Did you know my husband?" Her eyes didn't blink. She just stared ahead, like she'd been waiting for that question. After a pause, she whispered, "Yes," before Daniel. It was never supposed to happen. My mouth went dry. She kept talking, low, deliberate. She said she met Thomas at a bookstore. He came in often. They talked, flirted, met for coffee. One thing led to another. It wasn't love, she said. It was attention. He said he was lonely, that things with you felt distant. I felt like I was hearing someone else's life. She said it ended quickly, just a few weeks before he died. He cut it off, said it was wrong. She respected that until she found out he passed. She said guilt crushed her. She couldn't let it. Oh, and then she met Daniel, accidentally at first. She didn't plan it, but he looked like his father, sounded like him. I thought being close to him would fix what I broke, she whispered. I sat frozen, not just because of the betrayal, but because of how calm she was. As if confessing to sleeping with my husband, then dating my son, was something tragic but forgivable. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something, anything, to shatter the lie I'd been living in. But I didn't. I just stood up, walked back inside, and locked the door behind me. My world hadn't just cracked, it had collapsed, and it was still falling. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, playing her words over and over. The betrayal wasn't just about Thomas. It was the layers, him, then her, then Daniel unknowingly dragged into it all. I felt disgust, anger, heartbreak, too much, all at once. By morning, I couldn't look at Natalie. She greeted me like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just turned my entire life into a twisted confession. Daniel came home that afternoon. He was calm, too calm. I watched him, wondering how he'd react if he knew. I made dinner, sat across from him, and asked how things were going. He shrugged. "Fine." I nodded. Then I asked, "Do you love her?" He looked up, surprised. "I think so," he said. "She's good to me." I didn't flinch. I just nodded again and kept eating. Later, I found myself writing a letter. I don't know why. Maybe to make sense of it all. I wrote everything. About Thomas, about Natalie, about what she told me. I told Daniel I wasn't angry with him, but that he deserved the truth. I signed it and placed it in an envelope. I stared at that letter for hours. I couldn't decide if giving it to him would help or destroy him. He'd already lost a father. What would it do to him to know that same father betrayed his mother? That the woman he trusted, maybe even loved, had once been part of that betrayal? I burned the letter the next morning. Some truths are too heavy. They don't free anyone. They just leave wreckage behind. Marie called. I told her everything. For once, she didn't offer advice. She just listened. When I finished, she said, "You don't owe anyone your silence, but you don't owe them your pain either." I packed a small bag. I didn't know where I was going, but I needed distance. I left Daniel a note. Simple, honest. "I need time. I still love you." That was all. As I closed the door behind me, I didn't feel peace. Not yet, but I felt control. The house no longer felt like a tomb. It felt like a place I could come back to, maybe, when I was ready. Not everything breaks cleanly. Sometimes it shatters. But I was still standing. And for now, that was enough.